Welcome back to the series about different aspects of divorce. I am Vanessa White and I'm joined by the lovely.
Photis. Hello, everyone. Photis Kassianides to give my full title, which I don't think I've done before.
Oh, nice. Like it. Hi, Photis. We are here tonight doing another one of our episodes. And tonight we're talking about coping with being alone and loneliness after separation and divorce. And I think this is a topic that comes up all the time. It is something that I've certainly experienced myself in my own life and also clients all the time. So it is very, very natural to feel this way. But obviously, what we don't want is that goes on through your life, because there are lots of strategies to help deal with it. So we're going to talk, just have an honest chat about different aspects of that. And hopefully there's something there that resonates with you on this topic.
Yeah, that's great. And to your point, Vanessa, it is just so natural, isn't it? It's one of my clients put it. He just said, "But all the noise has suddenly stopped. But the good noise, the kids running around the house, the routines, whatever it might be. But also, he said, he goes, I know I'm crazy saying this, or I feel crazy saying this, but I actually miss some of the arguing. It got just to such a routine." He said, now, I'm in the house alone. He's moved into a house nearby, but he said, I close that door, come home from work, close that door. And it's the noise, it's the lack of noise, it's the silence that he's taking time to adjust to. It is totally normal. It's just a matter of time to recalibrate to that
Mm.
new state of normal. And there's a lot to miss, isn't there?
Yeah, there absolutely is. I think when we were thinking about this and we were thinking about initially, there is obviously the fact that you don't have that companion there. You don't
Mm.
have that person by your side in your home, going to places with you, driving you, or being in the car with you. And that sort of go-to person that we might do sharing news first, we would go to them, or if we've got an event and we're going somewhere, we would ask them to come with us. And I think that loss of just that familiarity of that person is huge.
Yeah, and it can be even like the smaller things, of just checking in with someone like, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? Oh, there's nothing there to ask. Or, it can be you're so reliant, or you realize that there's so many things that the other person did, and then suddenly it is all on you.
100%. And I think there are some really good things to say here that, it is not forever. This kind of missing of that go-to person and feeling that kind of loneliness to do with that is going to be transient because your life will move on. You hopefully, if you want to, will meet someone else. But even if you don't, you will find that sense of self again. So stay socially connected, with your friends and your families and doing your hobbies and things like that. Build in routines, when you are in that initial stages where you're really kind of missing the person. And remind yourself that just because after that breakup or separation, you do feel that loneliness, that it doesn't mean you're a failure. It doesn't mean that it was the right relationship for you. It's just purely that, of course, we miss having that companion, really, which I think is really important. So it will not last. I think one of the things that I hear and talk to people a lot is what to do when you don't have your children with you when you're going through a separation divorce, because obviously that is a huge change, that when we separate from another parent, inevitably in most cases we do not see our children all the time. That's one of the fallouts from a divorce.
Mm.
That's naturally what happens, and that can be extremely painful. I don't know what you think about that, Fotis.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also probably the first time that both parents actually aren't with their children for a prolonged period of time. You kind of forget that you're always around, or you're usually around, and now you've switched from that, and sometimes quite suddenly, to a completely different scenario. So not only are you moving, or you're in a different home, different accommodation, but you're away from the children and you have to deal with that. You have to deal with that scenario. You have to deal with a certain amount of time now that you have without your children. And I've heard clients, and I'm sure if you've heard as well, that actually say, not only do I not know what to do with my staff when the kids aren't with me, but I actually almost feel guilty if I'm doing something fun. And that's a process in itself. That takes time to adjust and to realize that actually you can make the most of that time away and you can actually lead by example. If your kids see you, or you tell them what you did over the weekend and you've done something positive for yourself, and they can see that you're taking care of yourself. And to your point earlier, you're sort of reevaluating who you are and what makes you tick. That can be a really good thing to show your children that mum or dad isn't lonely when they're not with them, that they're taking good care of themselves and they're doing something positive.
Absolutely. I think that's a really, really great point. I think the other thing that, often when this journey starts for people, it is an utter dread of those first weekends the children are with the other
Mm.
parent, or they are away on their holidays. And what you quickly come to realize um, is that being a single parent is incredibly hard work. Not having that person who shares the burden at home and helps with some of the child related, chores and running around and things like that. It can be incredibly difficult for um, a single parent. It's tiring, and obviously, depending on the age
Mm.
of the children and the number of children you've got. And I think sometimes that's an unexpected thing that as they get into a bit of a routine, quite quickly people realize actually those weekends when I don't have the children or when they're on their vacation with their other parent, they need just to kind of switch off, take their foot off that parenting accelerator a bit. You know, it's actually really needed. And I don't think people anticipate that's going to happen.
Yeah. And the other benefit of that is that when you are with the kids that weekend, you can be fully dedicated to them. Yeah, I'm not saying that every time you have them, that's another thing that people get into. Every time they have the kids, they think they have to do something huge and spectacular in an event. Actually, a lot of the time, the kids are just quite happy just hanging out and doing something normal. But if it's just that, you can be fully present, to use that phrase, when they are with them. So don't feel guilty about investing in yourself and taking time for yourself when you're not with them. And as I say, it's natural for your kids to worry about what you're doing when you're not with them. So if you can turn around and say, oh, I did this, I saw such and such a friend, I went and played tennis or whatever it might be as well. They want to hear that you're okay when you're on your own. There's no bad
Yeah,
thing there.
absolutely. I think that's really important because you don't want your children worrying about you when they're away.
Yeah, and
Um,
we forget
you
that
know,
that's what they do. Well, that's what they
Yeah,
can
they
do.
do because they love you and they care for you. And, they're aware you're on your own, obviously depending on the age of the child. So it is really important. So yeah, kind of learn to use that time wisely for you, have some downtime, do some other things, and try and reevaluate what you want that time to be. I think something interesting we have discussed together and that comes up in client appointments is about couple culture,
Mm.
social exclusion if you're a single person. And I think this is really important topic for us to discuss, Photis, because it's real. It
It
happens.
is, yeah.
I don't know what your experiences are or.
Yeah, well, I think that's really important to say. It is real. You're not imagining it. It's quite a normal thing. Don't. It's not centered on you, as it were. It's not just in your case. We do see it often with our clients. That, to your point, there's a lot of couples, social events. There's a couple events, whatever, that suddenly you're not being invited to, and that can be a real thing. That can be a real change to your dynamic. That's another kind of adds to the loneliness, adds to like the adjustment that you're making. So it is good to be aware of that and to realize that it's not just you, it is a real thing. So
Yeah,
I
it
guess,
is.
how do we cope with that?
Well, I think it's difficult, but just on that point, I see a lot that, say you and your ex-partner did quite a lot of things with a couple group, quite a number of other couple friends. And then suddenly what you see is, you're suddenly only doing things with the wives, or you're only doing things with the husbands if you're the man. Um, and the sort of couple social events and mixing
Mm,
dwindles away. Um,
yeah.
there is definitely this thing about single people being around other couples can be really quite difficult, I think, not because of the single person, but it is definitely something that happens. And I think you're right, because say you always went out to the pub with a particular group of friends on a Saturday night, every Saturday, that was your routine, and then suddenly
Mm,
that's gone, you're sat at home, you feel pretty alone. And then I think we go into those spiral thoughts of, oh my God, I should be still in that couple, or I should never have left, or I'm never going to find anyone. I'm always going to be on my own on a Saturday night. We go into those negative thinking, limiting beliefs quite
mm,
easily. But this is an opportunity to find some new connections. And, I know people might be thinking, well, that's not that easy. It's not that
mm.
easy. But actually, you will meet new people just naturally, because you will have that time you're not with your children, or that time you might have been with your partner. You will have an ability, once the rawness of the separation has happened, to actually go to new places, do new things, and new people will start coming out of the woodwork. And also, you can invite people who maybe you didn't know that well and build those new connections.
Yeah, it's all about, and it's not easy. Totally get that, but it is all about putting yourself out there. And the more you talk to people, the more you realise there's either similar stories out there. They'll be like, "Oh, I must introduce you to so and so," etc., and you'll build that out. So as difficult as it is, if there's one thing that you're quite comfortable in doing, whether that's going to the gym or going, is there a local walking group that you can join? Find something that you're comfortable in doing anyway, and use that as a sort of stepping stone. And it really is, and it takes time. I'm not saying about, the very first weekend or whatever, it takes time, but use this time to kind of reevaluate what really makes you tick. Have you given stuff up during your relationship? No, not maybe not necessarily in a bad way, but are there things that you've stopped doing because you're in that relationship, you don't have the opportunity, or just it just didn't work as a couple in that relationship? Did you give something up? Is there something that you think, do you know what? I used to go bike riding. We never did that. Can I get back into that? It's just
Mm.
finding, little things that can build up your self-confidence and build up those networks again.
100%. And I have people who sort of say, oh, well, no one rings me anymore. No one comes round anymore, and it's like, well, do you ring them? Do you
Mm,
go to them? Oh, no, no, I don't do
yeah,
that. And, we're all guilty of that. But again, it's like not expecting people to come and kind of land in your lap and
yeah.
say, let's do something. You can instigate things. Look, I'm free on Friday night. Do you fancy going to the movies? Or,
Mm,
I want to go and see this place. Do you want to come with me? Or, you know, actually approach people. And I think you'll be surprised by how many yeses you get. Um, so yeah, don't sort of wait for people to invite you. You instigate some things, however small they are, even if it starts off just with a walk or a coffee. Um,
exactly.
I think there's, just before we kind of round up, there's an interesting paradox, I think, as well, kind of on the flip side of that, that sometimes what we hear is people saying, oh, you're so lucky that you're free now. Oh, you're so lucky that you can do what you want when you want, which is, I think I was actually quite surprised, because that has
Mm,
happened to me personally after my separation. And I hear it now from clients as well, that people sort of say that, which you wouldn't expect, because obviously no one wants to be separated or kind of going through the turmoil of heartbreak and everything. But you
of
do
course.
hear that, where, that sense, people's perception of freedom
Mm.
when you're not with that partner anymore.
Yeah, and I guess it's digging a little bit deeper into that maybe, and just thinking, well, what is it? What is it that they're envious of that they think I'm doing? That might actually give you a few clues of like, yeah, actually, I'm going to try that, or I can do that. And going back to, it's small changes as well. It can be like, to sort of reinvigorate you and get that self-confidence, and break that routine up, is, maybe make a few changes to your accommodation. If your partner's left and you're at home, or if you've moved somewhere, do something for you in terms of how you decorate it. Change something about your appearance. It can be small things that just build up a bit of that self-confidence and get you back out there. And
Yeah.
just dig a little deeper into, like, what have I missed doing, or are there things that I've always wanted to do, and now I've got the time and opportunity to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just acknowledging that there are both sides of this, you know, that freedom and a sense of freedom and loneliness kind of coexist. And that's quite normal. It's not just kind of one-sided. Um, I think that's been a really interesting chat, Fotis, and has kind of thrown up quite a few things.
Yeah, it's a great subject, isn't it? Because I think everyone goes through it.
It is. And, some of these tips are actually relevant even if you're not going through a separation. There's a lot, we know that there's a lot of loneliness in
Mm,
society. But certainly after separation, being alone, it's tough. It's part of the journey through it.
yeah,
But it's also is transformative because it is a chance to rebuild yourself with time and to redefine who you are and what you want. Like you said, not instantly that first week, but it does happen. And actually, that can be really exciting, I think.
yeah. And
So,
that's the point, is when you get from loneliness to actually enjoying your time,
yeah,
alone, that solitude, actually enjoying
yes.
that and cherishing that rather than
Yeah. And
fearing
then
it.
actually you're
That's
like,
where we want to
I
get
don't
to.
I don't want anyone. I don't want anyone around.
That's a whole
Um,
different subject that we can do another time.
yeah. Um, yeah. So I think that's been really interesting. Thank you. If you have enjoyed the chat tonight, then we will be back next week where we will be talking about personal recovery from divorce and separation. So how we're sort of building ourselves up. So some of those things we've said, how do we actually do that? Please follow us on our accounts. We're on TikTok, Instagram. I'm Vanessa White Coaching on Instagram, Vanessa White Coach on TikTok. Fotis, you are.
Photis the coach on TikTok, and emotional_equity on Instagram.
And please do share this recording with someone who is navigating loneliness, post divorce or separation, is feeling very alone and can't kind of get out of that phase. And if you want to have any coaching or you want to talk or ask us anything, then please DM us. We'd love to hear from you. And we look forward to speaking to you next Tuesday.
Yeah, thanks very much. Thanks,
Thanks very
Vanessa.
much. Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.